Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this morning, day 2 at BAF. So let's get the speakers up here. So if I can ask Jeff to come up, Jeff Chiang, who's the Director of Sales and Business Development at Aviation. A lot of you would know him based in Hong Kong. And next we have Joanna Zhao, founder of Aviation and JetLink, all the way from Beijing. Welcome, Joanna. Thirdly, we have Yeung, Sales Director at Asian Sky Group. We heard a very important presentation yesterday from his colleague and the fleet report. And next we have Peggy Zhang, also a Zhang from Sino Jet, who's the General Manager and Deputy General Manager. Welcome. And last but not least, my good friend Zhang, Vice President Government Affairs at Textron, all the way from Beijing as well. So welcome to all my panelists. Give them a round of applause for joining us today. Okay. So thank you for joining us today here at the Chiang Exhibition Center. Today the session's going to be talking about China's business aviation market. And as Lithium said, my name's Michael Walsh. I won't go into too much detail now about who I am. But if we can, So basically, before we get into the conversation today, I wanted to just share a few announcements. I mean, this morning up in Beijing, the Chinese government highlighted their annual work reports, which came in this morning through headlines, just a few notable ones. They set another 5% GDP for 2025's growth target, emphasizing on a few key industries we're already familiar with, but I'll highlight them again because we'll talk about it in our session today. High technology, finance, export credit insurance, the expansion of some of the cross-border e-commerce platforms, further doubling down on clean energy and advanced manufacturing. And Premier Li has also announced plans to unleash the private sector and promote further high-level opening up. So we'll be asking our colleagues what that could mean for business aviation. We're aiming to attract, obviously they're aiming to attract more private foreign investment and drive that domestic consumption, that elusive domestic consumption that's not necessarily come through in the last few years so far. The strategic focus includes deepening of market reforms and enhanced cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative between those economies signed up. Particular sectors for DFI are looking at telecommunications, healthcare, and education. And China's top political advisory board is overseeing, obviously, the 15th five-year plan covering 2026 to 2030 period, which will be announced at the end of this week. For some of you may not be aware, but 2 weeks ago, President Xi talked with business leaders from the private sector on the sidelines of a symposium, and companies like Huawei, BYD, Xiaomi, Alibaba were all present. And that sent a positive message amongst domestic business leaders, and it actually showed a bit of a bump in equity markets on the tech stocks. So obviously these are things, macro things that we need to think about when we look about the business aviation sector. I would encourage everybody to engage in today's discussion, and there are 2 questions on the Slido app, as mentioned at the beginning, which I'd like you to answer once you hear from our panelists. I just wanted to quickly share some further statistics with the audience from Jetmaster, so I'm not sure if you can put up a quick slide of some further statistics. So this just gives us some idea of some of what's been going on in China, 2024 versus 2023. And this is courtesy of Jetmaster, a business intelligence company based out of Shenzhen. And this is based on total legs is down year over year, but an interesting observation is cross-border legs in total are up by 6.7%. So that shows there's more activity from China going outbound than there is on the domestic in 2024 versus the year before. Next slide, please. This follows on actually from yesterday. There was talk about foreign registrations and the popularity of it. I think here in this data it shows that Cayman Islands is still a popular private registration for foreign ownership. And Malta would be maybe because of the VistaJet popularity in domestic China. and its activities there. So San Marino, obviously, which was noted yesterday, is the most popular in the region. But still, obviously, in China itself, domestic B-Reg is still the dominant registration alongside the US historically. Next slide, please. Just 2 slides. Okay. So we'll move on very quickly. So with that data, we could also see which were the most popular domestic airports. So if we put Hong Kong to one side a second, that would normally be the #1 spot, which was proved to be the case again last year. If we take a look at the international countries that Chinese are flying to, Japan came out #1, followed by Singapore and Thailand as destinations, whilst the USA and South Korea remain an important economies. You can see, well, you can't see, but from the data that's with Jetmaster, Vietnam now leads the pack in ASEAN, and alongside Indonesia saw its largest increase in demand year over year. UAE in the Middle East sustained its popularity similar to 2023. In terms of the aircraft popularity, large cabin is still the dominant aircraft in demand. And I think what we'll see when the G700 starts to be delivered in the region, companies like Qatar Air Executive will be very popular in the second half of this year as they have more availability for that type of aircraft. So let's dive into our first topic. So Joanna, I'd like to start with you, if I may, and then go to Rocky on the first question. So the first question is, what shifts are you observing? What are the key factors you see contributing to market recovery? You know, based on what I've just sort of set the scene on and some of the news that's coming out, what are some of the things that you feel are contributing to a potential market recovery over the remainder of this year? And how can stakeholders best support this recovery?
Hello, I'm Joanna. I started my career since 2006 as a charter sales operator. 3 years later, I joined Mission Financial Leasing as the biggest fleet in Asia. 10 years later, in 2019, I opened my own company at JetLink and purchased Aviation in Hong Kong. For me, the past 19 years are all good times for me because we are always ready to provide what the current market needs. Let's start with some numbers first. This is the 30 years anniversary of China business aviation. We have 260 aircrafts operated by 30 companies. We have 260 airports with 15 FBOs. Most of the charter aircrafts based in the east side of China, like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen. Still, the aircraft we sold out more than we import in previous years. Some aircraft sold out by auction, by the bank or the financial institutions. We have newly built airport like Daxing Airport. We have the FBO and MRO only for private jet. Some airports owned by the local government, they sublease the FBO to the big operators for better services. So I think all these improvements on the friendly environment for the operation help us to recover the markets. As a JetLink, for example, we lease 4 aircraft from the operator first, then we sublease the aircraft to the local clients in some rural area, west side of China. Then the clients don't need to pay the extra positioning fee. So I think for this innovation, we provide what the market, the clients really needs. Following the trend of the globalization, we have to provide the charter services to the clients globally. We use Jetmaster, mentioned just now, and Evernote to collect the proposals globally with a good-looking format. Also, following the era of the short video, we use personal IP channel on the short video like Red Notes and TikTok to promote our business online with a lower market fee. With all this effort and collaboration in the industry, the sales numbers doubled in previous year. We also sold 2 G650s in the last 2 months. So for me, the market is recovered compared to the previous 5 years. Let's see, the local government also improving their services to this industry. Now the foreign registration aircraft can fly easily in China. That's why we use VistaJet, Qatar, Phoenix, MJet a lot. So I think following the globalization trend, provide what the market needs. Like the customers, they purchase aircraft and they put the aircraft base in Singapore, Dubai, and Japan. All the Chinese management company, they provide these services locally. So I think we can, following the trend of the globalization, provide the charter business and management business and aircraft sales globally. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. Before I go to Rocky, yesterday I was talking to Universal Weather and a young lady based in Shanghai. She did observe that the domestic movements, which I highlighted earlier, are down this year, and in particular, outside of Beijing and Shanghai, the rest of the country, it's quite low. We're talking less than 100 movements per month. Do you see, even though that is the case, what I would say is November, December, and January, I haven't got February yet, are the first 3 months where it's a continuous increase in total movement. So are you seeing, like in just the past 12 weeks, more inquiries, more activity from your side?
Yes, the Spring Festival. The Christmas Eve, New Year, and the Spring Festival is a big season, busy season for us. But after the Spring Festival, they all go back to work. And also this in the March, half of the charter aircraft go to the annual check in the hangar. Yeah, I think that also the meeting in Beijing. So yeah, that's why we a little bit low in first quarter.
Yeah. So next I want to turn to Rocky. Rocky is, besides working for Textron, is also vice chairman of the ASBAR, Business Aviation Association here in Asia. So Rocky, can you share a little bit back on what I opened up with on the macroeconomics of China right now, some of the things that are coming out even this morning from the working group in Beijing, which is encouraging. Looks like they're going to unleash the private sector at last. What could that mean for Textron and what could it mean for China?
Thank you, Mike. I think there are very strong signals from the government to report that especially for this year, and it's really the key year for the coming 15 5-year plan. And I also, and Mike mentioned the last month, the meeting with the private sectors, or the leadership meeting, also showed a very strong signal that the government will encourage all these private sectors development in China, and also to there are a series of policies released in the past year and also early this year, is trying to attract more investment from foreign investment, and how to encourage the local private sectors development, and also even the opens more open to the foreign investment limitations. Like there were some restrictions, but now they open a lot of them. And also, I believe everybody says that the visa thing to China there for the short-term turnaround there, you don't need a visa to be there. All the policies, I think, in the past several years, just encouraged all the investment, the visitors, and also include the business jets, business aviation side. And yes, especially for by the end of 2023, the central government from China, they released a very, very strong signal to the even policy to encourage the low altitude economy development. I think although it's not directed together with the business aviation, however, it's created a lot of opportunities for business aviation. Then you can there are some like helicopter connections or small airplane connections with the business jets together, and even from Shenzhen to Hong Kong to Macau, they use helicopters at the business aviation operation to transport the passengers to be there. So this especially last year, 2024, I think we all call that year as the first year for the low altitude economy, and I believe this year will continue. All the central government and the local government will encourage that. Look at the other numbers you showed. I know that it seems to be declined a little bit still. From COVID-19, I think we cannot avoid that things the business jets fleet is shrinking a little bit year by year. But look at the number of Hong Kong last year is they get new airplanes there. The fleet increase. I can tell from this signal is that the Hong Kong side, the business aviation already became stable there. Oh, and what we can see increase later as well. Or this year, they will get more airplanes there for the fleet. So this is the very well connected with the China mainland side. Once Hong Kong is stable, I believe China mainland side will be very stable for the fleet size. From my personal observation, I don't think that this year will continue to decline the fleet size. I think that we will get more airplane there this year.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rocky. I think there's, at the geopolitical level and macro level now, because of what's going on with tariffs, it's forcing China to be much more engaged. And there's an opportunity for China to further engage both in Europe, Middle East, Latin America. We're seeing these through whether it's charter inquiries. So that activity just feeds into the whole ecosystem, and then there'll be further demand for renewals of aircraft or looking at the pre-owned market if they're urgent and there's too long a wait for brand new. So I do think there will be an uptick in activity. In terms of availability, not sure what they typically go for is always going to be available in short notice, but that's something for the brokers to deal with. So next I want to just turn to Justin and Peggy, and along those lines, because Justin, your colleagues brought out the report yesterday, and as Rocky alluded to, whilst the overall activity last year was still down year on year, the international activity is increasing, and there's been approximately 12 brand new deliveries, mainly into Hong Kong, which are countering some of the fleet reduction. But the fleet is still, by the way, in China, the largest in the region. Its closest rival, Australia, which is a very different dynamic in terms of its fleet's composition. It's ahead by 30-odd aircraft in total fleet. But Justin, over to you. What shifts are you observing then in sort of how you're profiling some of your Chinese clients, and how is the growing affluence? Because China is still getting rich. It's a 5% annual compounded GDP growth for the last decade. So how are the growing influence among business influencing purchasing decisions?
Thanks, Mike. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to be here. So in terms of what I see on the profile of the business jet owner, I think starting with what we were used to seeing previously, I think the market in China was growing very rapidly. That's no secret. They had favorable governmental, economic, financial conditions. And so we saw, for example, a big majority of the fleet was owned by real estate companies. Evergrande, for example, had a large fleet. That really has decreased significantly. Also, for example, the casinos had a lot of jets flying around. That since COVID and the economic downturn, I think we've seen a reduction in that fleet. Again, it's probably no secret that the IT tech companies have been buying a lot of jets now as well. But also, what we're seeing is the adjacent industries in EVs, for example. Not only the EV companies, but in terms of the renewable energy, the batteries. So we saw some of the companies buy mines in hard-to-get-to places over COVID, maybe South America or Africa, and then suddenly, once the borders reopened, they needed to find a mode of transport to go visit their new assets. So some of the buyers have been your mining companies. As well as that, the market had been growing very rapidly, I would say maturing, whereas previously, because of the economic and financial conditions, people were buying assets, to put it bluntly, because they had the money to do so, the means to do so, without really thinking of the mission that they were trying to do with the aircraft. Now, as I mentioned just now, trying to get to these maybe harder to get to places, that's when the business jet really shows its value, right? And so we're seeing clients that are a bit more sophisticated in choosing aircraft that are fit for their mission. Aircraft that, if I'm flying a long way, I might need a crew rest, things like that.
And Peggy, you're based here in Singapore.
Yes.
So Sino Jet is the largest fleet by size in terms of managed aircraft, as per the Asian Sky report. Once again, is up there anyway. It's one of the leading, with Jenny leading the frame. And what can you tell us about what was some of the challenges, but also the opportunities for you that you saw to open up in Singapore and other places outside of your core market, Greater China?
Of course, just let me say that I'm honored to be here to share some market information with you. About the challenges, of course, if we are far away from our core business base, first challenge will be how we represent ourselves as another new base opened up in Singapore. And we need to really introduce ourselves into the market, what we can do. And Sinojet nowadays, we are not only the operator. We do manage aircraft, but we also have our charter fleet. And I believe the market now is changing. People are considering people are considering not only to own an aircraft, but also they're considering in using the aircraft in a more efficient way, in a more cost and effective way. So the charter market is also our important step into the Southeast Asia. Also, we do have a strong connection with the maintenance here with some of our partners, so we can build up a solid cooperation team and to do better service with our clients and to give more confidence to our potential customers as well.
Peggy, could you give some insights just quickly? There's always been a bit of a misinterpretation that the Chinese customers more and more are looking for Chinese providers and suppliers, especially even on the international side. Is that a language thing or is it a cultural thing? What is it that the rest of us need to know in order to get more Chinese customers?
To my opinion, I think mostly it's the culture thing, because I don't believe that language is still a barrier nowadays. Culture side, I think the Chinese people, they are just quite, they have there is a distinguished line between their business and their leisure life. So a lot of times, when they reach you, even out of the office work, but still it's something to do with the business, then a lot of foreign operators or maybe RMs, they are not say they are not working 24/7, but sometimes they are more like, I'm offline at the moment or I'm away on holidays. But Chinese people, they are quite, less patient when something really important in front of them. So I think it's a way of life, the way of work, and just some culture things that we do expect the time schedules for our clients. So whenever they approach to us, that we are ready, not for overtime work, but still we I don't know how. Yeah, it's more
flexibility.
cultural. It's more cultural side that we understand. Every time, even we can read out their message, and then we know how important it is or how prioritized it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, so I want to keep moving along to infrastructure because that was a big sort of push by Chinese government over the last sort of decade or so, and there was a lot of airport developments and expansions. And Peggy, even at Sinojet, you've opened a new FBO in Chengdu, and which is great. So can I come to Rocky first and then back to the rest of the panel? So Rocky, is there anything that we don't know about yet that's in the works from the government perspective in reference to infrastructure, whether it's a policy, air traffic control new system? Is there anything that you're aware at the ACP level that you work with the government that we're not aware of?
Well, from the policy or infrastructure side, I think the government did a lot in the past years, and like you mentioned, there are more FBOs there in different airports now, much more than before now, and also I think the most difficult one in the past years is the flight slots. I think now it's much easier than before, if I understand it right from the operator side. And also, I think from the infrastructure side, there are more transportation airports now. So by the end of last year in China mainland side, there were 263 civil aviation transportation airports. That's the big transportation airports. And also there were about more than 457 general aviation airports there. That's in the past several years. Although the general aviation airports did not get the target yet, but still there are more general aviation airports in development now. I think from this kind of perspective is the China government, they really spent more than 150 billion RMB each year in the past 5 years. Every year they spend more than that to develop the infrastructure for civil aviation side, including the general aviation and the business aviation side for airports, all those stuff.
So Rocky, you mentioned the low altitude economy, which is a policy which was announced even by our chief executive in his policy address in Hong Kong just last month. This covers not just air traffic control and the PLA's loosening of air traffic movements from a cross-border perspective, which could also encompass Hong Kong and Macau. I'm just wondering if the panel would like to comment on what could be these opportunities for the audience who are maybe unfamiliar with some of this direction that the governments are going in. Like, what is maybe step one and what could be step two from a low altitude economy development? Joanna, any comment there? Joanna, do you follow this, or Rocky?
Okay, I can say more about this. For low altitude economy, I think the really hot topic last year and even this year, there were a lot of investments into China, or within China area. There are so many investments to develop the UAVs, the systems, and also the eVTOL side. I can see a lot of news about eVTOL development in China. However, in the Q4 last year, the central government noticed that the low altitude economy is not only about UAV, it's not only about eVTOL. So the central government released a very strong signal that the low altitude economy development need to cover the traditional general aviation we have now, and also to develop the UAV and the eVTOL side. There's two sides there. So from the Q4, I think that from a lot of regions, they started how to leverage the current general aviation situation in China, and to develop that, and especially to introduce more low altitude air tourism and medical services, and also the short-haul transportations. Better this year, so there are some new policies. Even in the government report, they mentioned a lot about to provide more services from the central or from the large cities to different regions to get more service to the long distance people there, in some villages, all those stuff. There are a lot of things. For low altitude economy, I think we can connect with the business aviation that. So how we use this opportunity to help to increase the business aviation operations, to merge this operation together with the general aviation operation or VIP operation around the airports, and to connect all those to the cities or to the countryside.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of opportunities, maybe even for this show, as it's going to repeating in 2027, and it's sort of looking at ways we could make it bigger, more exciting. We could have a drone light show, maybe one evening above the exhibition with some nice cocktail with the backdrop of the planes on the static. And the other one is we could order our Starbucks from downtown on a drone and it gets delivered here at the exhibition center, because it'd be faster than the taxis after trying to get out of here. Still a problem to get more taxis here. Maybe get more Chinese operators coming into Singapore, open it up. Okay, with that, I want to bring in Jeff, who's been waiting very patiently with this amazing suit he has on today and this very garish pink tie. He's very confident today to talk about Amberjet and a little bit about the fractional product, which is the first, actually. We tried it before at AsiaJet many years ago. It wasn't quite ready. What makes it ready now for the audience, and how successful has it been so far, Jeff?
Thank you for having me. So with our fractional program, it's actually taken off very well. We see a lot of potential, not just in China, but also in the rest of Asia as well. I think it's just a matter of getting the marketing out there, doing more to inform people that we have this new product available. With our G450s that NetJets have kind of given us for kind of expansion in this area. But we see we see a lot of demand. I think in terms of our own numbers, we see a lot more flights going into China last year than 2023. 2023 was more Singapore, Jakarta. Last year it was actually more Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, Shenzhen. So we see going back to what Rocky was saying, I think we do see the demand is coming back. And with our program, it's a novel product in Asia with the fractional lease. We see it's in Hong Kong and a lot of the kind of economically prosperous cities along the east coast of China. It's very convenient, for clients to fly within China without any sort of positioning fees. As well as in Southeast Asia, where the number of business jets, although many, we sort of have an advantage in the sense that we've got a large enough fleet that can cater to everybody.
Do you feel the pressure to have a newer product, or do you feel even with the older G450s? It's acceptable for now? Is there going to be a time pressure to upgrade and buy new aircraft to service these affluent Chinese buyers, or users, I should say?
I think, we're at a comfortable price point where it's, not too expensive, not too cheap, and with the kind of the advantages that we offer in this with our program, we can kind of cater to the majority of the market. With G450, yes, it's not the newest plane, but in Southeast Asia, I think even in China, there aren't that many kind of options that can do what we do. Given the fleet size that we have.
So Jeff, one of the questions that's come in already on Slido is, how is China's evolving regulatory landscape affecting business aviation? And before I go back to the more technical experts, are you seeing permits and the whole sort of flight preparation a lot shorter, much faster, more efficient in your Amber operation than in previous years at previous employers, when we had more, longer run of having to set up a flight, there was a lot more restrictions. Is there less restrictions now or more? Or is it just we got better at managing it?
I would say it's better, and probably also at the same time, the whole system is progressing. For us, we can do flights with as little as 24 hours. We've not had any issues with that.
So all the runners are unemployed in Beijing who sit next to the CAC permit office. Yeah. It's all done by WeChat digital.
Exactly.
QR code. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good to know. Some efficiencies.
Yeah, but I think regulation, like you said, I think is probably the biggest challenge in China. A lot of things that can be improved on. Like what Rocky said. Infrastructure, we're severely lacking in number of FBOs, number of general aviation airports compared to US, Europe. So I think that that can definitely be improved on to grow the overall market.
But I would say most major cities now in China, there's tier 1 cities, have a kind of FBO, right? Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Chengdu is Sino Jet. Shanghai, Beijing, where else?
Yeah.
Tianjin, yeah, there's quite a few. So what is it that you're not getting as a client? What is it you want more from FBOs?
I think it's actually the building of more airports. We're using all the major airports, the ones that you've mentioned. We're using all the major airports, right? So we're competing with commercial traffic, not enough slots, which Rocky mentioned. But if there's a secondary airport that we can use, or a private, just a dedicated private jet airport, I think that would really also speed up the overall growth of the economy.
Jeff, you want to come in? Yeah, I was going to come to you now.
So just to jump in there, I think definitely in terms of infrastructure, many of the panel have mentioned FBOs. I think definitely more can be done to develop that. To Jeff's point about airports, I think Rocky mentioned we have 263 airports in China, but only the international airports are open to foreign reg business jets. So in fact, the infrastructure, the more we can develop, the better. But the quicker fix would be to open up some of those airports to foreign reg aircraft to fly into, which will immediately improve the situation. I think it's only 60-something airports that are designated international airports where non-Chinese reg aircraft can fly into. I don't know whether the permit situation is improving now because we've seen a reduction in the volume of flights, the statistics shown previously. My experience with a mainland Chinese, running a mainland Chinese operator, the sort of permit application approval system is actually still very complex. You've got the 5 civil aviation regional divisions and the 7 military airspace divisions, and depending on whether you're applying for a permit on a weekday or weekend, office hours, after hours, it's a different person and they're on 3 shifts. It's at least, back then it was a very complex landscape that it was a sort of cottage industry of permits application and slots and things like that. So the easier that they can make that, the better it would be for the aviation market in China.
So not all the runners are unemployed. They're still required in China. Okay, so moving along again. So I want to bring in the rest, or any of the panel here, because I think we had the Macau Static last November alongside the ASBAR AGM. And one thing I noticed was the ARJ 121 VIP config was on the Static. And one of the questions here is, with China's advancement in AI and technology and getting its own chip manufacturing sector underway, how long will it take COMAC to bring out a competitive business jet option? Rocky, go on. How can they compete with you in Textron? You've given them all your IP already, so they should know how to do it, right?
In fact, Textron's products is different level from the COMAC products, so we are not competitors at all. So you ask this very tough questions. I cannot answer that on behalf of COMAC, but
no. Just in general, where do you see progression of China in the aerospace sector from it? Domestic products. It's growing?
Yeah, I think the now for the ARJ21 and also C919, they are operated by some operators in China, and they are flying very well. For business jets perspective, I know during Macau Air Show last year, they showed the different configurations for ARJ21. Even they have the business jets, and also they have the air medical services configurations, some emergency and rescue configurations. I think the design and also the manufacturer is ready. Probably they are looking for some customer to launch that. I don't know, but from my understanding about the market there in China, I think the market is still huge. And for the you mentioned the flight slots application, I think it's much simpler than before. It was improved. And also, Joanna, let me just finish one sentence. And, you just making me forget what I want to say. Okay, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. For the permits, now we can do most of the open airports as short as 4 hours notice. Yeah. And secondly, you mentioned the ARJ21. Now we call C909. It's under Part 135 operation now in Urumqi. So next time, if your foreign aircraft fly to Xinjiang, then the foreign restriction aircraft cannot fly the small cities or the military cities. You can try 909 in Xinjiang province now.
Fantastic. Okay, so we were talking about the permits there, and we spoke a little bit about Singapore and the Chinese operators are actually here in force. We've got quite a few exhibitors. You've got Dirijet here, Amber, yourselves, Sino Jet. There's a lot of Chinese come down. We've got even Yan, my old colleague, is here. She's disappeared off to take some pictures somewhere. But so we've actually got end clients as well who have come down, corporates, Chinese corporates wanting to understand what's going on in the business, which is great to see. And I think people may not realize, the influence of Chinese business owners of where the activity is coming into other markets. Now, Singapore is obviously enjoying the bump, but also Indonesia, Vietnam, because of the China Plus One strategy over the last 6 years, a lot more production is being done in places like Vietnam, which I highlighted at the beginning, and Latin America, like Mexico. Hence why Trump is picking on Mexico to try and block one of the backstops into the economy. So we're coming towards the end of the session already, and I want to just encourage any more questions, keep them coming in on Slido. But before I do go to that, I want to ask each of the panelists the way forward, mapping out a pathway for China's business aviation. And I want to touch, and instead of just focusing about the operational side, think about sort of from an investor's point of view, why should somebody consider investing as it looks like the Chinese government is opening up the economy even more to foreign investment? What could those opportunities look like? So maybe I'll start with Peggy. Do you want to start?
Yes. What I can think of, there is a potential increase in profit with the new MROs and the training facilities, because China's economy is still in growing very fast, and of course we will create more high net wealth individuals, and they are the potential buyers or the potential customers to this whole industry. So by the same time, we have to be prepared of all this. We have more regardless is charter flights or private owned, but still we have we see the trend of increase of the aircraft numbers. So by the same time, I think the whole industry, from every side of the industry, we need to be prepared. Like for the pilots, engineers, training program, new training facilities, and some more MROs as well. Yeah.
Justin, from your Asian Sky Group hat, what are you seeing as opportunities?
Well, I think, again, the key to opening up the market would be the relaxation of the regulation. I think already we've seen, compared to pre-COVID, the relaxation of the 7 domestic legs for foreign registered aircraft. The more that they can relax those rules, and as I mentioned earlier, about opening up the airports, then that would definitely encourage growth in the market.
Joanna?
I still see a great potential demand in China, because people born in 1980s and 1990s start to purchase aircraft, and also the second generation start to take over the company. They have the right to make the final decision already. Also, following the trend of globalization, the Belt and Road policy, the AI, robot industry, also the improving operation environment. Now we sold out so many aircraft, so the pilot's cost lower a lot. Lower a lot. So all the operation cost is lower than before. I think we should be ready to provide what the customer needs, no matter it's fractional. You mean fractional ownership? In China, we got 120 clients. Share 3 jets in China. It's a typical fractional ownership. Also in China, the top entrepreneurs still purchase brand new aircrafts like G700. We got 4 already in China. Also brand new Globals and ACGs. So we still have a lot of demand here.
Jeff, anything to add?
Yeah, I think kind of taking one step back, I think from an investor's point of view, like you were mentioning, or even from a larger kind of big picture, I think, of course, we can have the aircraft coming in, but if the airports are not sufficient, if the service quality is very, very slow, or there's not enough MROs, which Peggy was mentioning, I think that will also hinder the whole growth of the Chinese business aviation market. So I think it needs to kind of grow in conjunction, kind of everything has to go up, not just not just the aircraft.
So Rocky, the big opportunities for maybe ASBAR to create a Chinese policy unit and you to head it up and ask them to lengthen the runways in China on all those GA airports that you can't land at.
Thank you, Mike. I think I have several points I would like to share. Maybe just a very simple sentences. Look at the China GDP is still increasing, although the increasing rate is a little bit lower than before, but it's still increasing at 5%. So that's very important for the economy. I think this is why we are very confident to the economy development and also to the business aviation market there. Secondly, I want to say last year, in 2024, 20 airlines, they turned from lose to profit in China mainland side. So that means that the aviation industry recovery is almost done. So it's almost there. So almost back to normal. They get profit already. So the business aviation is on the way to get full recovery. Third, I want to say, since from the COVID-19, the China mainland side, the fleet size began to decline or shrink. But you see the market demand for the charter services are still there. So this is why Joanna or Amber, they are quite busy with the charter services. So the market demand is there. So why when we saw the numbers is decreasing a little bit than last year, I think that because the fleet size is shrinking and the capacity in the whole China region is not as we expected they should have. So probably there are potential customer needs. They are not satisfied with their needs. When they need the aircraft, probably they could not find that. So that's why we believe China market need more aircraft for business aviation side. I forget which one now. So, but anyway, another point is that the business operation environment was changing from several years ago in China mainland side. So the buyer's profile is different. We must notice that as OEM from Textron, we noticed that the buyers like in the before for private sectors, for the owners of the aircraft, or from the SOE side. So many they are a little bit step back to buy the airplanes. So this is why we believe that in China we do need some investment to have some operators to buy airplanes there to operate to meet the market requirement. So in the past, there are a lot of airplanes from private owners. They just give the management to management companies, operators to operate those aircraft. But probably now there are less private owners to buy the airplanes. Probably they do need the charter services. They do need the airplanes. Maybe fractional will be.
We're out of time, Rocky. We're out of time.
But we do need some investment.
I think you've made some very key points there. I do think the market has shifted, and the opportunity. Some of the takeaways here is there's room for a FlexJet and NetJets properly. No offense, Jeff, to Amber, going big in China and buying planes to cater for the upgrade. Joanna, you want a final say?
Yeah, maybe they can order another 1,500 Textron Aviation products from us.
There are 5 operators newly founded in last 15 months. And during the show, I met an investor yesterday. He's applying another AOC. It's in the process. So if charter business is not a good business in China, it's not profitable, why we have so many operators keep, doing business in China?
That's a good point. Now, China is a big country. It's maybe been a little bit sleepy because of the pandemic and other reasons, but it's reawakening. And I think that's a good thing for the industry. So I want to thank my panelists and thank you all for joining us today. I hope you got a few takeaways. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mike. Give a round of applause to Mike and our panelists. Thank you.